look sensible. Hi, I'm David Penny, and I'm here today with the best-selling author Rachel Amphlett, who writes the Dan Taylor mysteries and the Karen. I've forgotten the surname of your protagonist, Karen.
Kay Hunter.
Kay Hunter. Kay Hunter. Not that's why I couldn't. That's why Karen didn't work. Didn't it? And in this session, we're going to talk about Bookbub, which I'm sure everybody knows what Bookbub is, but just in case there's somebody out there who's been living under a rock for the last 20 years, Bookbub is primarily a service not for authors, but for readers. And they have, I think it's 2.5 million or more subscribers to their readership lists, and they send out to them books that are reduced or free. And Bookbub subscribers will then download the books, and if, like Rachel and I, you write in a series, very often they will download the first book, and then they will buy the second, third, fourth, etc. So it's a good service. In terms of being a writer, they will offer to send your book out to their list of readers in various categories. So, for instance, I write historical mysteries. Rachel writes thrillers, I suppose. Do you categorize them as thrillers, Rachel?
Yeah, generally, yes.
Yeah, good. And they go out to their readership, and I think it's maybe 3 or 4 books per day per category that goes out. And anybody who's ever used Bookbub, as have I now, as has Rachel, will know that it's very expensive, and whatever it costs, it's a pittance compared to what you make on the back of having a Bookbub. I think that's fair to say. Would you agree, Rachel?
I think it depends on the type of book, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, and I think on the genre that you write in, and so on. Yeah. There's different levels of it. So we're gonna. This is really going to be a conversation between two writers who are trying to improve their craft and trying to improve their marketing expertise. So, I've done a Bookbub, you've done a Bookbub, Rachel. Was it the first one that you've ever done, or have you had one before?
No, I've been actually quite lucky in that I've had several Bookbubs since the beginning of 2015.
So you know the trick of... I've applied since 2014 and been turned down on numerous occasions, so you're doing something better right than I'm not.
Well, there is a slight trick to it. When you apply, are you applying for the worldwide one?
Yeah.
My advice is apply for the international one. Knock off the Americas. Knock off the USA.
Right.
For a start, it's cheaper. And I think maybe, I can't prove this, but my feeling is perhaps less people go for that. But certainly when I've applied for international ones on a regular basis and throughout mid-2015 to at least mid-2016, I was getting one every 6 weeks.
Wow. And so how many
because
have
I
you done
had
in
that
total?
because I had a number of books, I could flip the books around and do a 99-cent promo every 6 to 8 weeks of Bookbub.
Wow. And did you find, and so obviously if you're doing non-worldwide, the costs are significantly less. Do you mind telling me what you would have paid for an international one as opposed to a worldwide?
Yeah, for an international one, it's about a third of the price.
Right.
Yeah,
I think mine
it depends on your category, of course, because they do change them.
They do.
Depending on the category that you're in. But certainly for the category, for the most part, I do pitch into thrillers. It's only since the birth of the Kay Hunter series I've started pitching into crime fiction. But with all my Dan Taylor thrillers and the standalone ones, I was pitching for the international ones, and it was a third of the price of what I would be expected to pay for worldwide.
I think mine was about $550 or something like that for worldwide.
That was worldwide. And what category did you put yours in?
I submitted for historical mysteries. And for some reason known only to themselves, Bookbub decided it should go into historical fiction. Which I think is slightly cheaper than historical mysteries, or they're very similar in price. I know that crime fiction is one of the most expensive ones. I think romance is the most expensive.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a romance writer.
Although I think some of those romance writers are making a lot of money.
Yeah, I think they can afford it, bless them.
Yeah, I think they can. Yeah, and I think crime is probably one of the more expensive categories. Thrillers is fairly high up there as well, isn't it? So
It is.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So as you say, you have to be careful with BookBub that you are pitching to the right category, because obviously, if you
Yeah.
pitch to the wrong category, they're not going to accept it anyway.
No, and I think they're very good at if you're close to the category, but they think that you would do better or you're better suited to readers in another one. They're not afraid to email you and go, look,
Yeah,
you've pitched for this category, but we feel that you would better belong here.
yeah.
And I had one like that last year where I pitched one of my standalones before Nightfall into the thrillers. And they came back to me and said, we would rather put this in romantic suspense. And I said, well, honestly, if you look at the 1 and 2 star reviews on that book, it's from people that picked it up thinking it was romantic suspense, and it's not, because I blow too much up and I shoot too many people.
Yeah.
And there's not really that much romance in it. But they insisted that they were right, and there was a bit of fallout amongst people that picked it up thinking it was going to be romantic suspense. They don't always get it right. But at the end of the day, they're the experts. You know, they know their audience very, very well.
They do. I think they do know them well. Although sometimes I wonder whether they're a bit short of on that day they were a bit short of books for romantic suspense, and so they're trying to.
Yeah, I think so. Just shove it into another category.
That's
I mean,
right.
perhaps people like it. They might go and try one of my others, but
Yeah.
it's all a bit of guesswork anyway. It's all we ever do.
Yeah. So you've done loads and loads of BookBubs. Have they all been as successful? Have they got more successful as you've gone along and learned what works and doesn't?
Yeah, there are certain books now that I won't pitch. I'm being more I'm finding this year, especially this past 6 months almost into, I'm becoming very much more strategic with the advertising I do. Probably through 2015, as things were taking off for me, it was a case of throw everything I've got, including the kitchen sink, just put everything,
throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, see what sticks.
Yeah.
So very much then that was when I was doing those 6 to 8 weeks, every 6 to 8 weeks doing a 99-cent promo, just trying to keep the visibility there, keep my name, because my name's not an easy one, let's face it. Trying to keep the name in people's minds, trying to keep the brand in people's minds of the Dan Taylor books. And that did seem to work. I would never hit the realms of the huge sales that everybody told me I would with a BookBub. I would see a significant lift, then a drop and a bit of a long tail, managed somewhat by using other advertisers either side of the BookBub to build up to it and also afterwards. But always returning to normal sales levels within about a couple of weeks.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
What about yourself? How did you find it?
Mine was free, not paid for, so it wasn't reduced. I have 4 books in the series at the moment, desperately trying to start work on the 5th. And the lead in the first book in the series is only £1.99, $2.99. I've submitted it several times, and I think before when I've submitted it, I've done it as a 99-cent deal.
Yeah.
If you do that, then it's not that much of a reduction. So I think I've just got the standard, sorry, but this is not suitable for us at the time. And everybody tears their hair out and says, oh, I wish they'd tell me why not, but I can understand that. So this time I went for free. Not the first time I've submitted it for free, but this time I did again. And I think we might talk about this in a little bit, but I think because I had quite a lot of reviews now, whereas before I didn't. I had more than 50, and I've got a feeling that might be a kind of magic trigger point or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure about that, because if you look at some of my books, I don't have that many reviews on it.
Right.
And I've stopped worrying about it. I used to worry about it a lot, that I didn't have a lot of reviews on my Dan Taylor books. You look at books 3 and 4 in the series, and they've got under 30 reviews.
Right.
I think some of it is just timing, and it's, as you say, perhaps it's that drop in price, that if it isn't priced that high to start off with, maybe looking at it from a strategic, tactical point of view, maybe it's something in future people could try, would be to put their book up by $1
to a
or
higher
$2
price,
to a higher price for a good couple of maybe a month before they then pitch, and then drop it and say, well, look, it's
Yeah.
this much. I'm actually going to drop.
Yeah.
So there's a phone going off in the background. I'm going to ignore it,
Okay.
and then drop it to that 99 cents and maybe get the deal that way.
Yeah, like they do in the supermarkets,
Play the system.
Yeah. So yeah, I think so. It's nice. I wasn't sure about going free because there's a lot of discussion about whether you can make a book free or not, and so I made it free. It was obviously for 5 days, and for two of those, the first day it was free, and the second day it was free, and the third day it was free. I was #1 most downloaded book on Amazon worldwide.
That's a nice feeling.
Worldwide, not just in
fantastic.
the UK, which surprised me because it's. I don't know. I think if you have a good book, not necessarily a good book, if you have a good cover and it's in a genre that people want to read, you could hit those sorts of things. Yeah, and it was free, so people obviously downloaded it, and most people haven't read it, but they've downloaded it. I think something like 44,000 downloads on one day.
That's phenomenal. And even if you've got another 3 books in the series, even if you get half of those working their way through, you're going to make your money back, and it's a good investment.
Oh yeah.
Out of interest, are you Kindle Unlimited? Are you KDP Select, or are you wide like me?
I am KDP
Select.
Okay. I did try going wide a couple of years ago after a conversation with somebody at Apple and Joanna Penn. And within 6 weeks, I'd lost so much income. I panicked and begged on my knees to Amazon to let me back in, and they said, "Well, normally we don't do this, but yes, you can come back into KDP."
See, my experience is completely the other way around. Right. I'll keep it brief because otherwise we'll go off topic. But okay. I tried KDP Select after friends of mine who were women's fiction romance writers were singing its praises, and it just did nothing for me. I think I pulled all my books out of KDP Select in mid-2015 and went hard on Kobo and used Draft and Digital at the time to get into Apple. I'm now direct with iTunes, and I haven't looked back. And it's that again gives me a bit of clout with the Bookbub deals.
Exactly, I was going to say. Yeah, I think they favour people who are wide, so that they're not just directing people towards Amazon; they're directing them to all of the other channels as well.
Yeah, I think as you say, it's something to bear in mind, isn't it? If you're doing really well in KDP Select. I mean, there are so many authors that are just, making an absolute fortune out of KDP Select. That maybe there are other advertising places to use other than Bookbub if you keep getting rejected by Bookbub.
Yeah. I mean, I advertise elsewhere, but it's a different. I do Facebook ads and Amazon ads and so on. And they're pretty. That's what started off my rise in sales, really. But then,
how did you complement your Bookbub? Did you do Facebook adverts for it?
I did, yeah. So I ran a Facebook ad for the 5 days that my book was free, and I started it before the Bookbub went. So went free the day before 2 days before the Bookbub, because there's this panic situation of, what if Amazon? What are the times on Amazon? It's got to be free on the day of the advert. Yeah. So you put a couple of days before, and then the day, and then 2 days afterwards. So I ran an Amazon ad, a specific a Facebook ad for that book, saying it was free, and immediately I saw an uptick in downloads on day one.
That's great, because it gives you that head start, doesn't it? So when Bookbub's readers see that, they're like, oh, this is a good book already. People are already buying it.
That's right. And then I went through a service that submits your free book to, I think, 30 or 40 different advertising platforms.
Yeah.
And those sort of kicked in throughout the week. So some of them came in the day before the Bookbub, and you could see a slight uptick on that. But it's the graph of my downloads it goes like that, and then up a little bit, and then the Bookbub comes out and it goes right off the top of the screen.
Yeah, that's the one, straight through the ceiling.
Think, oh my God. Yeah.
What was the long tail like for you?
Very good. It's just about come down now. So it went out on the 27th of March.
Yeah.
As we were driving down to Spain with the dog in the back of the car. Not the best of timings.
I hope you weren't driving and checking your rankings on your phone.
No. I did wait until we got to the hotel at night. Although I did used to check them at lunchtime when we pulled up to a service station. So it would have been better if I'd have actually been around for a bit more when it was
Yeah,
hitting the
mine was
peaks.
completely different. Mine very much reflected the same reaction I've seen in sales, particularly on Amazon, that I'd seen on international ones. And because it was a strategic promotion for me, I wasn't too fussed. I mean, I made my money back and a bit more. But what happened with me was my K Hunter books, because I was advertising the first in the series, Scared to Death, for 99 cents, to try and draw in readers into that series before the third one comes out next week. And what I saw was that I was making, very happy, thank you, money leading up to the Bookbub promo. Then I got the spike through the ceiling, which had a bit of a tail for the second day, which I was pleased about because I needed that to cover the costs. And then it quickly, very quickly, by about day 3 or 4, returned to my normal sales.
Right.
Which I don't mind in the sense that my normal sales are very nice, thank you. But I was surprised there wasn't more of a long tail there.
Do you think that's not making it free, but making it 99 cents? That people will buy the reduced book, but there's not the quantity because how many downloads? You wouldn't have got 42,000 downloads, I don't suppose.
No, but then I wasn't after that. I was after people that were going to buy it. Get sucked into the series and then continue through the series with me because I've done other free advertising the first 4 months of this year with various methods that I think most of us are familiar with. And now I'm having to go through, for example, my mailing list and sort out the wheat from the chaff. And I did a reader survey in April, actually in March, just before Will to Live, the second in the series, came out, and said to, just ask some very pointed questions to people. And so many people, particularly in the US, came back and went, no, I only download free books. Those are not the sort of readers I want. I want people that will, 99 cents, you're still getting a bargain. It's a lot of work went into that, a lot of editing, a nice cover design. So for me, it was very strategic. I'm hoping that I will see, there's a few reviews that have started to trickle in where people have said, really enjoyed this, have already bought the second one. I'm like, that's then worked for me. I was a bit worried the sort of the first day going, I haven't covered the cost, this is going to be a loss maker. And then by the second or third day with the sales trickle through, it was a case of, okay, all right, it's served its purpose. I think if I had done it for any other reason, I'd have been very disappointed spending, it was in US dollars that cost me, and I don't mind sharing this, it cost me $1,024 US.
Did it?
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
And then you do the conversion into Australian dollars, and you can see what I was kind of...
That's because it went into the thriller category, which is very, very competitive.
Crime fiction one, but again, very competitive.
I think, I'm not sure if crime fiction isn't actually more expensive than thrillers these days. It's
could be. But I think what I'm going to do is possibly leave it until the beginning of next year and maybe do another 99-cent deal on Scared to Death and try it with my old tactic of using the international one and seeing how that fits. And it'll be interesting. I'll keep my figures from this exercise and see if the figures are comparable or better.
I think you do. I keep a daily spreadsheet of everything I do in terms of marketing and what the income and how many books I've sold of each book in the series and so on. So I can see what works, what doesn't work. And usually there's a couple of days delay on, you do an ad. And 2 or 3 days later, and then Amazon can be a bit weird in terms of reporting your sales as well, particularly at the moment.
Just a bit.
But I read that post of yours about winnowing down your mailing list. It was really interesting.
I've been brutal. I've been brutal with that. If I time for another conversation on that one, but I don't take any prisoners.
I think I was lucky this time. Then, obviously, the first time, because my long tail must have been 6 or 7 weeks.
That is fantastic. And that is what I have heard a lot of people, excuse me, for example, fantasy authors. There was one particular fantasy author, sci-fi author that said to me, you should make 3 times what you have spent out. Well, I didn't see anything like that. So it could be genre specific.
Yeah, that's interesting. I made 20 times what I spent.
That's just fantastic. I love stories like that. I really do.
Yeah,
and are you seeing from your flow on with the rest of your series, you're seeing that flow come through?
Yeah, you do. It's funny. The flow is like a moving wave. So
Yes, it is.
so you get the crest of the wave, which is the book you're advertising, and then you get a little wave for the next book and the next book, and it goes up and down like that all the way along.
Yeah.
And it's just about evened out
them
now. And this last week, I thought, oh yeah, I'm probably slightly up on what I was before, very slightly, because I've pulled in more readerships who have gone on
good.
to the, I think if you're going to really make a go of Bookbub, you probably need at least 3 books in the series, and you're just about to have that.
Yeah.
And the more,
I've known people trying to do Bookbub and they've got one book, and I'm like, but what are you going to do? What are you going to send them to after that? And by the time you've written it and published it, they'll forget who you are.
Yeah.
They really will. You need something to send them on to.
I know, yeah. I've got a friend who's written some cozy mysteries and currently only has 1 book out, but madly she's finished the 3rd book, but it's going through betas and so on. And she asked my advice, and I said, don't even think about advertising till you've got at least 3 books in your series.
Yeah.
Because it's just pouring money away,
I was teaching at the weekend. I'm actually telling people not to even publish their first book until they've got the second one in the barrel ready to go.
That's a good call,
actually. For the same reason, it will. If it suddenly bites, at least you can put it out within the the 3 months, the 90 days, and still capture those readers who are engaged with you. If you get an email from someone and go, I really enjoyed it, when's the next one out? You can go, bang, it's going to be then.
Yeah, I know.
And the same works for Bookbub.
Yeah, it does. So, So you said you had international. What countries did that cover, Rachel?
It's everything except the USA. So from Bookbub terminology, that's the UK, Canada, Australia, and India. And I do really well out of those ones and have done in the past. And then I will, as we said, supplement those with other advertising, for example, like Bargain Booksy, and things like that. Either side of it. The one thing I do about 3 days, because I tend to try and run it for a week, and that keeps my contacts at Apple happy. But before, the first thing I do when I reduce the price, as soon as I see that price reduced on Amazon and the other platforms, I'll send out a mailing list, a shout out to my newsletter and go, look, if you've already bought the book, great, thank you. Feel free to forward this email on to friends and family that might like it, but it's going to be reduced for X amount of time, get stuck in. And that usually works, like you say, with your your Facebook adverts. That gets that book up in the charts and gets it a bit more visibility. So when that Bookbub one goes out, people on the Bookbub list take a look at it and go, oh, it's already doing quite well up in the charts, I'll go and get it. So, it's all very, very strategic, and I would recommend that people do that. If they don't have a big mailing list, supplement it with some cheaper adverts a couple of days before the Bookbub, and then Bookbub will take care of it. Yeah.
And I think you need that level of social proof. So if you have a book that's just come out, it's got no reviews, it's languishing at like 2.5 million in the charts. And
that's right.
And then you spend $1,000 on a Bookbub, and people look at it and say, maybe not.
What's wrong with it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You don't want that.
No, you don't. No. So it's a difficult situation. You have to have some degree of traction already before you start.
It is a catch-22, but like I said, I would, to people that don't have a lot of reviews on their book, but they are good reviews and it's got a cracking cover and everything else, don't be despondent about the lack of reviews, because in my experience, a huge number of reviews doesn't really make any difference. I've had, aside from Bookbub, there are other opportunities that I have had because it's still placed really well. It's still selling really well. And again, going back to my reader survey, one of the things I did ask readers was, if you picked up my book for free or through a Bookbub promo or something like that, did you go back and leave a review? And a lot of them were very apologetic and said, no, I'm too busy. No, I don't know how to. I never know what to say. So just because you don't have a lot of reviews doesn't mean that people don't care, they're not enjoying it. It just means that they don't pay for reviews.
Yeah, you probably only get 1 in 1,000 maybe readers would leave a review. It's I very rarely review.
Good on them.
If you're a reader, not a writer, you don't appreciate the importance of a review to us.
Yeah, I think unless you hang around writers, you don't get the fact that we'll just rugby tackle you
We
for a
do
review.
anything for a review, anything at all.
We would, we'll review tarts.
Yeah, yeah. Interestingly, I don't. Do you have any audiobooks out, Rachel?
Yeah, I've got the 4 Dan Taylor ones,
Yeah.
and I did those through ACX, but I'm currently, the K Hunter series has been doing so well, I can actually afford
Yeah.
To have the K Hunter series produced privately.
Yeah, that's what I
And
did.
we've just finished the first book, and the second one goes into production early in June. And the third one will be hot on the heels of One to Watch coming out in a week or so. And it's very much something I'm getting into. I'm spending time learning how to market audiobooks better.
Oh, right. That's a conversation we'll have to have sometime later then.
Yeah, that's another one. We can do some research and some testing and then compare notes on that. That would be good fun. We should do that.
Yeah. And I've noticed I doubled my audiobook sales on the back of the Bookbub as well. So
yes.
I think,
Did your paperback sales go up too?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah, because I'm in Select, and I've got my books in Select, paperbacks in Select as well. It gives you a graph of book sales as well as ebook sales. So it's quite interesting to see those go up as well. Yeah. Although it's like 4 a day or something. It's not.
But it's still out there. It's someone that didn't have a book before. Yeah. And as you say, when you've got a series, if they enjoy it, they're going to invest in the rest of the series.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think, there's definitely, it's not just people who are going to download the book that you're advertising. As you say, it's the people who are going to follow your series through. Look for the audio books, because on mine, if they buy the book, they get a reduction on the audiobook, and I think that's where a lot of those
that works anyway. Now, are you advertising your audiobooks at the front of your ebooks? Because that's something I did.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I've actually got a link to Audible at the front of my ebooks. So when people look on the look inside, they can click on it and go, "Oh, there's an audiobook."
No. I'm the world. Yeah, I'm the world's laziest advertiser, to be honest, Rachel. I do as little as I possibly can. It takes me about 2 minutes a day to manage my marketing effort, and that is it. If it takes longer than that, I know I'm not going to bother.
With regard to your books, do you have box sets of your of your books?
Just started a box set. Doesn't sell huge amounts.
Did you see any uplift from that, from the Bookbub?
Yes,
because sometimes I find that people say, "Oh, that one's free," or 99 cents, but hey, there's a whole set, I'll go and buy that. Right.
Yeah, it's only the 3 books, but even if you get the first book for free and buy the box set, it's cheaper than buying books 2 and 3 separately.
Yeah. So, and you saw an uplift in your box sets from that promotion?
I did, yeah. And you make so much money on a box set.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's like $5.99 or $6.99 or something, and you get $6 and you think, whoa, how many would I have to sell to
big
get
money.
$6? Even if it's only one sale, you think, results.
I don't think I would ever do a Bookbub for a box set though.
No.
To me, that's giving away too much real estate.
Yeah, I know that people like Mark Dawson and Adam Croft have done very well by targeting book sets. A bundle in particular.
Okay.
I just do the bundle as a service to the readers more than anything else.
Same.
And don't advertise it and don't push it. And like I say, if you I'm probably making 30, 40, maybe 100 sales of the set a month.
Yeah.
That's $600 because you get so much money for each one of them. It's great.
Yeah, and this is what I always say to everyone. You've got to optimize your books that you've got there so that when you do have a big promotion, there's so much on offer for a reader when they land on that. They click on the Bookbub newsletter and they go, boom, wow, it's not just one book. There's all of this. And I think that's very attractive to a reader.
It is, yeah. The only trouble I have in now is I've got a 10-book series planned. So 3 plus 3 plus 3. So do I do 3 plus 3 plus 4, or do I not include the last?
And that's the problem, I think, when you're in KDP Select. If you were wide, you could stick it on Kobo, and you could just charge what you like for the whole 10-book box set.
Yeah, you could.
With no penalties.
Yeah, I think you could put it as 10 on of course, because if you go above $9.99, your royalties reduce. Yeah. Oh, never thought of that. Oh, no, I can't.
You could do a limited. No, you can't. No, don't do that. Never mind, you can't do that. Just don't go there.
No. Why would? Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? That nothing to do with Bookbub or anything else, but The traditional publishers are pricing their ebooks at like $14.99.
I won't spend that. I
I
looked at a
don't. No, I
couple last week
refuse.
on the Kindle, and
Yeah,
I'd rather just get the paperback from Book Depository.
and they're cheaper.
Yeah,
You can get the paperback
and you
for
get a real
less
book.
than you can get an ebook. Quite often you can get the hardback for less than you can get the ebook on Amazon. So
yeah, it's crazy.
they're not doing.
But that's where
themselves
us
any
indies
favors.
can smash it.
I know we can. Yeah, they can keep on doing that as long as they like, and we're
Exactly.
okay. Yeah,
Exactly. We'll keep doing our 99 cent and free Bookbubs.
yeah. I'll pay $4.99 if it's a book I want, but I won't pay any more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
exactly.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to pull it back to to the topic in hand. Having done it, did you consider Bookbub good value for money or not?
Not worldwide.
Not worldwide.
I think the international option is good value for money. Mm-hmm. And then you complement it with advertising outside of that, which will reach America anyway. And having done this exercise, I've got my little notes here prior to when we spoke. That is what I will continue to do.
Right. Just out of interest,
I will save my money.
Yeah, because I found going worldwide was very good value, but I get about 80% of my sales are from America, which is counterintuitive to me because it's set in Spain and it features an Englishman and it's medieval, and I thought
do you think that does depend on the genre?
I think it might be maybe medieval historical fiction possibly is more popular in the States than in the UK, but I don't know. Because
yours are very fast-paced books as well.
They're
really good.
They're quite visual as well, I've been told. So, which is what I like. Yeah,
you're obviously tapping into the right genre when you're advertising, and they're falling into the hands of the right reader, which is fantastic.
I know it's quite funny at Crime Fest. I said I've created my own niche. Nobody else is writing what I'm writing.
Be an outlier. Be an outlier. Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Why not?
I know. But it's interesting, isn't it? But you, I think, sell very well in America, more so possibly than the UK.
It's picking up, especially with the K Hunter series. My biggest audiences are Canada through Kobo, which is massive.
Yeah.
The UK and the US, and I've recently sorted out some issues here in Australia. That I've sold direct through iTunes for a good 18 months now, but because I wasn't registered for GST, which is the Australian equivalent of VAT, I was restricted from selling ebooks in Australia and New Zealand. Well, I bit the bullet because I thought iTunes seems to be more popular over here than Kindle. I could be wrong, but particularly for this genre. So I bit the bullet a couple of months ago. And at the same time I landed a merchandise for iTunes, I registered for GST, and I haven't looked back. It's really lifted my Australian sales. My Amazon Australian sales are a pittance, but my iTunes ones just blown the socks off the last 2 months. So again, it comes down to my business strategy.
Yeah. And you, I think, like me, we have strategies of how we're going to grow our business, and our business is writing books. Yeah,
absolutely. And just getting the most that we can out of it. And I think that's part and parcel of being indie. You've got to look at the business side. You look at things like Bookbub and go, I could sell a gazillion, I could give away a gazillion copies, but how does it help me strategically to take my business forward? And for anybody listening to us waffling on about this today, that would be my biggest message. Before you apply for a Bookbub, sit down, think of how it's going to affect your business strategically for the next 6 months. And then spend the money.
If you think it's going to make a difference, like you
and
said
don't be
before.
afraid to walk away.
It's
having a Bookbub is not being fashionable. Does it work for your business? Because if it doesn't, there are plenty of other opportunities out there to go and spend money on advertising.
Oh yeah. There's always somebody willing to take your money, and it's having the knowledge to know which are worth doing and which are not worth doing, and which are cost.
And don't be afraid to walk away if it's not for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You're better off selling less and making more.
Yes,
So the bottom
absolutely.
line is that,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And it's about net sales, not unit sales, because at the end of the day, we're all running a business.
Yeah, indeed. And it's going on Bookbub is part of that business strategy, but it's not the only thing you can do. And there's lots of other things you can do to help that overall vision of where you want to be. Yeah. So in 10 years' time, Rachel, you and I will be absolute superstars. We hope.
and I may still not be using Bookbub worldwide.
No. Oh, you'll have to by then. I think. Yeah. I think once your K Hunter books start to take off in the States, it would be well worth you looking at worldwide, possibly.
Yeah, perhaps. It'll be interesting as well to see if they ever do Bookbub for audiobooks. Although we don't have the ability to dictate the prices with those. That's the annoying thing.
No, we can't change.
But I think perhaps as audiobooks, they reckon audiobooks are going to be the takeoff like ebooks were.
Yeah, something like 26% growth.
Perhaps more power to indies over the coming years with audiobooks and our options for distribution. Yeah. That's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Are you exclusive to Audible on your audiobooks or wide as well?
I am with the Dan Taylor ones, but because I own the K Hunter ones, I'm considering my options very carefully as to where I distribute those, and that's something that's part of my business plan for the next quarter.
Yeah.
So I just want to get this next book launch out of the way, and let it does settle, and then I'll worry about it.
Yeah. Well, you want to get your launch out. I want to get my next book started, let alone launched. So that's in my diary now for Monday of next week when we get.
Well, maybe later in the year, you and I should get together and talk audiobooks.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, I love audiobooks now. I don't listen to them much, but I like doing them. I like having them done.
Yeah, I do, and I can understand why people like them because I really enjoy podcasts.
Yeah, it's great, and I've got a new narrator who lives 18 miles away, so we meet up for coffee and we go through the strange pronunciations and the accents.
Yeah, whereas I have to mark up mine with track changes and go, this is how you pronounce things in Kent.
Yeah, I had that trouble with my first one. My main secondary character, he got the name wrong in the first 6 chapters.
Oh no.
And he had to go back and punch in. There's a guy called Jorge who's a eunuch. And he pronounced him as Yorgi. Like Yogi, it sounds like Yogi Bear or something. Throughout the whole of the thing.
That's immediately what I thought of.
Yes, yeah. So, it's worth getting that sort of thing right at the outset.
It is. Lessons learned.
I know. Okay, Rachel, we've tended to bounce off track in all sorts of different directions, but I think we've covered what Bookbub can do for people, and thank you very much for your time today. It's been great.
Likewise, thank you. Yeah, likewise. It's been great chatting. I look forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rachel.